You're listening to Glow On with Charla Story
and Jennifer Wilson. We're not just photographers. We're your trusty guides in the world of photography, business, and a bit of life wisdom. Every week, we'll be lighting up your feed with practical tips, inspiring stories, and a sprinkle of humor just to keep you smiling.
We've captured luxurious weddings, mentored talented students at Develop Academy, and navigated the ups and downs of the photography world to bring you insights and strategies that work. Whether you're looking to sharpen your skills, boost your business, or just hang out with two friends who get it, you're in the right place.
So grab your favorite beverage, get comfy,
and let's dive into another episode of Glow On.
You guys, it's time. The time has arrived. The time is meow. You're all talking about it. You're all thinking about it. I can't stop thinking about it. So much so that last week's Glow On probably should have been Sepia Bride, but here we are. When you hired your wedding photographer, could you have ever thought that it would end up in you having a nickname heard round the world? Like what?
No. And the hardest part about making fun of any like stylistic choice in photographs is like somebody's got to glow on for it. Like sepia was the fucking shit when I like decided black and white was old and boring. Sepia was amazing when I first started shooting, and I felt so artistic. And then I immediately used it to determine when your wedding was, and it did its exact job of making something look older and antique and distinct. So I giggle every time I hear Sepia Bride. I also giggle that I straight up asked ChatGPT if Chat knew what Sepia Bride was. And in fact, Chat did. It's like so for those of you that don't know, just so we can catch you up, the Sepia Bride is an incident that refers to a viral TikTok drama involving a bride named Alexandra Condor, who was unhappy with the editing style of her wedding photographs. She criticized the sepia tone applied to her pictures, which she felt made her look pale and her makeup indistinguishable. Despite her concerns and requests for edits, she claims the photographer's revisions did not meet her new expectations. So she shared her frustrations. Controversially, on TikTok. While others defend the photographer's stylistic choice and emphasize the impact of lighting and background on the photo outcomes, basically it's become this like foundation of how important clear communication between client and photographers are, and it has gone viral for many reasons. So we want to chat today a little bit about why this has gone viral, what it means to you, and how you can use this very valuable knowledge in your business.
I think that my favorite chat bot, Chatty came up with it. Chatty said it. She said her new expectations were not met. And I'm like, there it is. Is the episode over? Because
and that's exactly right. So last episode, we chatted about how the buyer's journey has kind of changed and everybody's trying to run away from the ick. And we're not just making a buying decision based on relating with somebody, but also all this information we gather before we ever speak to them. So she obviously loved her photographer's photographic style. And I think we can all agree she was delivered something pretty damn close.
Yeah.
We all kind of agree with some of her frustrations. Like, I wouldn't want my eyes to be that dark, but we know as photographers that a big part of the weather and light for the day played a part. There are things we can do to help with those kind of things. And we're not going to, we got classes for that at developacademy.com if you want to check it out, but that's not what we're here for. Shameless plug. But one thing she just said that blew my mind, and this is where I would like to spend a moment with you, Jennifer.
Okay.
She said, basically, recently, that she feels if a photographer makes an artistic choice in terms of the way they're photographing or editing something without consulting the client, she feels that you are being egotistical and selfish and not taking care of the client themselves. I know
Here's
I'm putting you on the spot.
here's the thing. There are hire Getty images then. They'll just come and shoot it exactly as what was happening. But even then, you've got someone who would qualify themselves as an artist using a tool used to create art during your wedding day. So at what line is that line drawn in the sand for her? Because I've never met someone who so my father-in-law, he loves to photograph nature and animals, and he has all these, like, all the craziest gear you could ever imagine, and he would qualify himself to be an artist using nature. So, like, I've never met a photographer who doesn't qualify themselves as an artist, and I've never been put in a situation other than no, even shooting stock photography for Amazon for a hot second, I still had an artistic perspective that I wanted to have there. So what I'm hearing her say is that she didn't feel fully aligned to the artistic heart of the photographer that she chose to book. Because if you can't trust your photographer's skill and their eye for the art that they are producing, you're never going to be happy with the end product. So I just could not more wholeheartedly disagree with her. I was hired for a wedding once where they wanted it to feel like an outsider was just paparazziing their day. They didn't want any formal photographs, nothing like that. And then on the day of, the client did decide that they did want a few formal posed portraits with their closest friends and family. And it was an interesting take on the day, for sure. But even in my moments where I felt the most dull and the least artistically plugged in, you can still tell that there was a level of who I am as an artist in those images. So she's just woefully misinformed.
Here's where it gets me. Here's my little circle, okay?
Okay.
Sepia Bride says, these photos are not what I decided her style looked like to me, the way I would have explained and described it. She feels what she saw is not what she got, right?
Yeah.
So she's saying she thinks you should be able to just request whatever you want, which would then mean that photographers would be sharing things that were all over the place, which would mean they would be getting brides that felt like they were delivered a product that wasn't what they saw, which is exactly what Alexandra is explaining is her frustration. So, in fact, it's not that she's thought this all the way through before making a statement about our careers and her thoughts on it. It's that she feels what she feels right now in this moment. And in this moment, as a bride, she wishes she could have XYZ. But if we were to go back and ask her what she wanted before the wedding, it would be she wants to receive what she booked. And then
Right.
later, she'll explain that her frustration is that she didn't get what she thought she was going to get. So that statement of, if you're going into a wedding day looking to produce something for yourself, that's egotistical and selfish, it actually doesn't even make sense. Because if I don't approach a wedding day with my distinct perspective and edit it consistent with my style, then I am not delivering on the brand promise that I have made to my clients who have booked me based on knowing, liking, and trusting what I have to offer and what they're going to get. So a lot of times, and I think that's a perfect example. She has obviously made an emotional point and made it a business perspective, which is what we can assume she did when she made this decision, which means we can assume that she is a dreamer. And so I think it's easy for a dreamer to dream up a new ending if they don't like the one they were given. Right. So I think it's more like, no, you need to really, and we know based on our last episode, the buyer journey is doing so much deep dive research before making a buying decision, especially in this sector of the world, in the service industry and in photography. There's not a chance in hell that I could just nimbly bimbly be all over the place and expect to make the majority of my clients happy. Of course, I would go viral on social media with a displeased client.
Well, and I think we shouldn't move any further before we say, like, her photographer's portfolio I would say perfectly supports the images that she received back. Like, it to me, it didn't feel out of the wheelhouse of her portfolio. There were a few images that, like, she doesn't showcase that type of lighting or those types of scenarios on her portfolio, on her Instagram or her website,
But why
but
is that? Why is that, Jen?
because it's not for her, it's not where she wants to shoot, it's not the type of light she wants, it's not the ideal
Yeah.
client, I don't know.
Because Instagram is intended to romanticize and show you a
Agreed.
highlight reel. And so if she
Yep.
prefers perfect golden sunset light and that's what she shows you, and that's what you see a lot of and you fall in love with it, fantastic. But if that's not what your day gives you, that's not what you're going to get. And the closest possible thing you're going to get to it is with a photographer who fully knows and understands how to provide consistency
Mhm.
despite skin tones, location, weather, whether it's natural light or artificial light. And that's why her most current statement still wouldn't line up because it's not
No.
about what she thinks it's about.
Right, well, and it might not even be that her photographer feels that she isn't adequate in those scenarios. She might feel that she is perfectly adequate in the scenarios that she's not posting. But if the client isn't seeing what those images look like in those scenarios, then she's doing herself a disservice and you're setting yourself up for this. Like our wedding photographers, they did a great job with with what they were handed, but we were hit by a hurricane on the west side of Mexico and rain was coming down in sideways sheets for 6 days, and our photographers were from Southern California. They had never photographed anything in rain before. So it would have been really easy for me to come back at that portfolio that they provided of our wedding day and say that, like, these don't feel inspired or these feel stale or they feel stiff. But I knew who I hired. I knew what they were up against. I knew that that was not in a shooting scenario that they're used to. And they really did truly go above and beyond to do the best they could that day. So I'm completely happy with our pictures, but I'm also aware of what that felt like because 'cause I'm a photographer and I can be a realist. So, yeah, I mean, I if in some world this gets back to her photographer, I just want her to know that, like, it this sucks. It sucks
It
really bad.
it definitely does. And the viral TikTok was the bride saying, "This is what I was delivered. I asked for these changes. This is what I made myself." And I think it's easy to be like, "Look, I can do everything I want in a photo by myself. Why can't you do it?" Well, we can,
Mhm.
but that takes when we're talking about 1,000 images, what
And
kind
it
of time
wasn't
investment is that? What was planned as a business owner for that time investment to be? What happens when things out of the bride and the photographer's control, like rain or light or whatever happen? You know, I think it's fine for you to say, "I'm happy to edit some additional edits for you because I want you to love your photos." And ultimately, the client is always right. That's just the way that goes.
Mhm.
But it's also not necessarily realistic to go in and edit, how dark your eyes are specifically in 1,000 photos. So it's
Right.
easy to make assumptions on what an investment looks like. But ultimately, what can we do with this information that Alexandra has given us a peek into when it comes to receiving her gallery? Also, how many Reddits have we seen lately with incredible talents being judged for their angles, their edits, their color? I'm talking some of the best in the industry are being called out when we look at that work and it's gorgeous. So a part of me is
Mhm.
like, okay, we have real brides giving us the BTS conversations that they would have at the bar with a friend. And that is a gorgeous glean. We can look and find what can we do to provide a better service to our clients. And I think with what we know from Reddit and Alexandra, we realize that this front half, we have to be showing every part of the day. I want to see your work in
Yep.
the rain. I want to see artificial light. I want to see natural light. I want to see short people. What is that? What happened to me in that one class? I want the bigs. I want the talls. I want the shorts and the fats. I want them all. I want to see what you can do. And it's not even just everybody's like, oh, you need to see a full gallery. Sure, you need to see a full gallery. But more importantly, why don't you show me tidbits of the entire wedding day with a diverse variety of people all over your website and Instagram?
Yeah. And we will continue on this train of thought, but as a owner of a preset company who specializes in beautiful skin tones, and then a co-owner of our company where we harp on beautiful skin tones, I would be remiss to say that her own personal edit of that shot of her was completely stylistically, color,
Different.
contrast,
Everything.
lighting, worlds different than her photographer's portfolio, and that
Right.
cannot be understated. She
Right.
literally she walked into Nike. They sell tennis
Mhm.
shoes, and she was like, "I'm not happy with this tennis shoe. I made myself one, and it was a fucking Louboutin." Like,
Yeah, she added a heel to the tennis shoe, and she was like, "See? Now it's
this is what I
perfect."
wanted. That like,
Why didn't they understand? Absolutely.
I was like, "Wha" and I'm not even completely sure she didn't purchase a preset to edit her photo. Just,
Yeah.
but,
What
like,
she was like when she was like, "I was able to do this." Well, your photographer would have been able to do that too, but that's not what you said you wanted,
you
because when
hired
you
the
booked your
wrong one.
photographer, yeah, you said, "I want what you do and how you do it."
Well, and we
But
also have to state she did say, like, her welcome party pictures, she loved those, and the thing is they all look the same, whatever. But yes, to your point, I think that we are seeing it's almost like we've been given, like, the hole in the locker room wall, and we're getting
whoa,
to pay attention
whoa,
and
a
hear.
peephole, ma'am?
I mean, I've never seen one, just in the movies. Is that real? Do we think those are real? Yes?
Yes. Yes.
Really?
We'll talk about it off we'll talk about it off
Oh,
mic,
your
Jen.
husband and
Give
his
you a little
football knowledge. What are they
No,
doing? Bring drills into locker rooms? I'm so
no, my
confused.
husband doesn't know anything about peeping into locker rooms. He spent time in them in sports, yes, but no.
Then why do you know this?
I think everyone knows this. I think everyone knows, but it's just not appropriate for us to talk about here and now. I'll tell you later.
Well, we're getting to be the creeper that apparently you know and be in on these conversations that we haven't been privy to before. And it has been both terrifying and eye-opening and also thoroughly entertaining to kind of dive in there and get into the murky waters and see what their perspectives are, because we are seeing some of our icons and legends and people that we really look up to, and seeing their art through the lens of the public and not just people who, like, if you follow so and so on Instagram and you're commenting, you likely love their work, so you're going to see a lot of positive feedback. So what happens when someone takes a wedding to Reddit and people who don't know anything about that artist get to have full reign about their feelings, and it's kind of crazy.
It's the insight that you dream of. And
And have nightmares of.
yeah, I mean, it's really it's this thing where brides specifically, and I think we're really unique here, the buying decision and the actual action of which was a button, takes a lot of time. So you might book your photographer depending on what kind of buyer you are and your investment level and when your wedding takes place, anywhere from 6 to 18 months out, right?
Yeah.
And what you love then might not be exactly what chat said, what you love now. So a lot of times people are designing their wedding, and by the time they have their wedding, they have fallen out of love with what they wanted because they've seen it a lot, or they've just grown or changed their mind. Even when we look at Ben Affleck and J-Lo's wedding that they had
Yeah.
very recently, that was very obviously the wedding of her dreams the first time they were going to get married. And to each their own. We're not knocking wedding designs or your choices, because they're yours and you get to make them. We are saying that once you've made them,
Yeah.
afterwards it's pretty kind of uncool to be like, well, I hated all of that. Well, you asked for it. But we can take this and say, okay, now we have a really, really great example of how important clear communication of style and expectations are for our clients to understand. Not
Right.
just poses, but also editing and flow and managing client expectations, being flexible, especially in edits. It turns out this photographer gave raws. I commend her. That's not what most of us would want to do. So I know that that wasn't from their first communication, right?
Right.
Um, Consistency in our portfolio and presentation across our site and social, but also, like we said earlier, throughout multiple times of the day. But here's the big thing. How to handle complaints.
Oh, God. You know what? This topic used to be a lot scarier like 5 years ago. But I actually don't like get excited and send me a bunch of complaints, but I actually don't hate it that much anymore. I was going to say, not to like talk about my new couch on 2 different episodes, but
But here
like
we are.
when you go through the process of sitting on the couch, doing the research of the couch, picking the frame, picking the filler and the color and all the things, if I get that couch back and it looks exactly like what I ordered and then I complain about it, like I'm sorry, just adopt the name Karen, capitalize it all, tattoo it across your forehead. Like that is a problem.
Well, if the preferences are in front of your face across the board, it's basically documented preferences. You see the photographers actively working while you're waiting for your wedding. If you brides, if you for some reason are listening to this, if you don't like the edits you're seeing from your photographer as you approach your wedding, then you need to either communicate that or actually no, just communicate it, because
Yeah,
you either need to move and pivot a different way, or you need to let them know, because she could have boosted those shadows if she'd have known that's what your heart desires. So I
right.
think it's, we don't want a Pinterest board to illustrate your dream photos, because we want to provide you with an experience, most of us anyway,
Yeah,
that is really focused on what's happening on your wedding day and not trying to make fetch happen, not trying to fit a circle in a peg. So it's okay, I think, though, to be like, this is kind of the vibe I like and the coloring,
yeah,
but I love what you do, and so I just wanted to show that to you, because then you're kind of educating each other a little bit,
right.
and
Well, I
that's
mean, it's a relationship. Some
yeah,
last, a few months and some last upwards of a year and these days even longer. And I think communication, we're going to talk about this all the time. Communication is everything. Always. It's the number one healthiest path to like happy outcomes. But in terms of handling complaints, I mean, we should go there before we wrap up because I think it's important and I think it's something that gives most people a lot of anxiety. And we've seen some things in our tenure of Develop Academy. We've seen a lot, and we've seen some complaints be answered in very interesting manners.
yeah.
Um, and yeah, so like, how should we tackle this? Because I think what is a common complaint that we might hear as wedding photographers? Might it be, you know what we get sometimes is like, I thought there would be more. I thought there would be more photos from this section. Or I don't know.
I mean, lately all over Reddit and TikTok, it's all editing. It's editing galore. It's
And I
fascinating,
love
and
that.
some talk about tilt, some talk about, flash, but overall it's, well, and we do also a lot about skin tones. A lot of times when we have varying skin tones, there's usually somebody that is expressing that there is a lack of consistency throughout the entire day and gallery. And we've even seen it. We've seen it even in TV. So I
Yeah.
would say exactly that: lack of consistency, skin tones, editing, or doing something in a timely fashion.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and I would say before that becomes a complaint, it has to start with setting expectations in terms of timely fashion and things like that. Being over communicative is going to kind of kick that in the bud. But in terms of like tilt and things. So are you alluding to the fact, and I do think you're on Reddit a little bit more than I am. Are you alluding to the fact that we are getting a lot more pushback about like stylistic trend choices?
I feel like specific brides, and maybe those that are highly active on social media, are expressing that they're looking for more of a collaborative environment.
Mm,
And maybe I don't want to say influencer, and I don't even want to say all influencers aren't willing to spend money on their photography, but a lot of
yeah.
times they kind of have a consistent brand that they are working within, and when they're making decisions on designing their own wedding, they are naturally thinking about what
Yeah.
it is that matches their brand. And I have seen that in a lot of ways. They want to be a little more collaborative. And so I really believe that one, your client's always right. They're right. And you
Yeah.
need to hear what they have to say because you want them to end happy. And so if you need to make some concessions, that's fine. I'm not saying that you need to, stop being who you are, but it starts with education. Hey, I want to deliver a product that's similar to my style. And this is similar to my style, but your wedding day had different weather. And so it caused these lighting scenarios. I'm
Mhm.
happy to go in and make these changes to your shadows. Let me record a quick video loom to show you
Yeah.
what impact we can make, and we'll do the best to make sure you love them. And then from there, maybe we should consider having a session on a day in the light that you love so that you do have some images.
Yeah.
It would just mean that you need to do your hair and makeup again, but we'd get to take our time and have some fun. Like you have to give them options and let them
Yep.
feel like they are in control, because then they're going to process and figure out how to get what they want and
Yep.
leave in a way that they're going to go and scream and rave positive things all over
Right.
TikTok. And that's the only thing that's in your control. You can't make them like photos they don't like. You can't explain why your stuff was perfect. You can explain why it might have been challenging or what obstacle you needed to go over. You can explain what you did for them and what you're willing to do for them. And
Yeah.
then you can offer them different solutions to ensure that they love these really important photos. But it's kind of your job, and it's so I can say
Yeah.
I haven't always thought of myself as an artist. I know you said you have. I actually learned photography in a very technical manner. And
Mhm.
so I thought of it more as like a process that had a
Yeah.
cool and fun result. And it took a long time for me to really digest and understand that I am an artist and I have an artistic perspective. And I'm actually way more artistic than I could have ever realized. And I love
Yeah.
leaning into that. But I do also know that when I need to put my feet on the ground, and if somebody's going to ground me and bring me down and ask me to meet them in the middle, I'm going to do that because I still want
Right.
ultimately for them to love the documentation of this important time.
Right. And I have nothing to add there because it's perfect. I mean, yeah, keep the customer, the client in the driver's seat. It's no one likes feeling out of control. And so by making sure they feel like they are in control, you are also in control. You're adding a steering wheel, really. It's like the driver's ed car. You've got the brakes.
Yeah.
That's basically what you're looking at whenever you meet a customer with empathy and understanding. And it can be incredibly tempting to walk into those scenarios with your guard up and to be defensive and to, claim that you didn't do anything wrong. So if you get a complaint email, the best advice I can give you on top of Charla's already excellent advice would be to read it, to step away, come back and read it, step away. Maybe write the response you want to write in a
Yeah.
note, not in an
Yep.
email. Get it
Mhm.
out. Get out your feelings.
Call a
Know
friend.
where send can be pushed. Maybe send it to your best friend via text message. Get it out and then handle it the way you would like for it to be
Mhm.
handled. And maybe even, hopefully, you guys are in community with people who understand what you do. If you're not, we would highly encourage you to. But send it to a peer who understands what your world looks like and make sure that they also agree this is a good idea.
Yeah. And also just know that you're not going to please everyone. Every once in
No.
a while, you will fail yourself and you will book something that was not a good fit. And when we scurry away from our ideal client, we do find ourselves walking into more of these situations. Which is why
Mm.
it's so important to be truly aligned and be acting as an advisor to people you truly want to serve. you know,
I
but
just imagine
also
you scurrying, and it was quite
scurrying.
the visual.
Um, and I know last episode I talked about my toxic buyer's trait is I want to see the worst. What is your worst review and can I live with it? And I got to
Right.
say, if I loved this photographer and her worst review was Sepia Bride, I'd be okay. Because I'd be like, oh,
Yeah,
well, that girl had a rainy wedding day and they obviously had words, but it looks consistent enough for me. I'm fine with this.
totally.
I would move forward with this decision if it's what I wanted. That wouldn't deter me. So, you're not for everyone, and that's by design.
God, you're not for everyone, and that's one of the best things you can learn.
Yeah.
You're not supposed to be. You're not supposed to be.
Mm-mm.
And you know what? And I don't know that this is, I'm sure it'll be a topic on a future episode, but could Sepia Bride have been avoided with the all elusive and hated sneak peek? I don't know.
Mm.
I don't know.
But was she? Because we know an edit in between took place. We don't
Right.
know. Was Sepia Bride, looking to break into the wedding industry and she's going to do it via TikTok and have like a talk show where she has brides come out? I mean, she's got opportunity and I'm here for it. I want to hear
Milking
these things. I do.
I mean, have us on.
Milking it.
Sepia
I even
Bride.
thought, like, I had a dream that we interviewed her, which is why we're like, we should talk about this on a podcast.
And
So
maybe we will.
you heard
All
it here
are
first.
welcome.
We're going to interview Alexandra Condor someday, soon, hopefully. And we're going to pitch to her that she should, in fact, have a talk show where she talks to real brides. Maybe we should also consider having some real brides on here.
That's a great idea.
I think we should.
But for now, Charla,
What?
what's your glow on this week?
It really is blush. It's some blush. It's that Patricia blush. It's like a compact. It's a twofer. We love a twofer. Okay. And I can put it on my eyes. I can put it on my cheeks. I can put it on my lips. And I just love having one thing that's the most perfect color for my skin tone. And a friend told us about it because it was her glow on. And she told us, get the rusty red brick color. And I was like, that's not the move. It's the move.
She knew.
It like when it blends out, it's absolute magic. I feel gorgeous.
That's great. I still need to try it. I'm gonna steal it from you next time we have our makeup bags together.
That's
what we do. That's what we do.
Yeah. What's doing it for you lately? What do you have a glow on for?
Scout Design Studio in Dallas.
Yeah.
That showroom, it made me question my whole life in the best way. I was like, it's funny. So we're selling our house and we're moving downtown, and we've been looking for a bistro table for our bedroom to have like coffee and play Scrabble with each other and stuff. And we've been searching and searching. Yeah. Well, I don't know which part of that was wow, but Scrabble, I'm really good at it.
But you need to have like a quiet place in your bedroom where you play Scrabble. She's not 80 years old, you guys.
No, it's that the bedroom is like so long and there's this corner that's all windows that looks downtown, and it's just the perfect spot to like enjoy a latte. And I like kicking my husband's ass at Scrabble enough that he also enjoys it. So he was like, we need a table. Anyways, we've been looking, and I was like, Michael, I just don't know that we have decided what the vibe is, like what our design vibe is. And I got to this point where I was like, listen, I just love things that are a little bit weird and a little bit unexpected. And I had heard of Scout Design Studio online, but I didn't realize they had a showroom. And I found this other antique shop that's next door to their showroom, and I looked and I was like, oh my God, that store looks so cute. They were going to be open for 30 more minutes. And we walked in, and I kid you not, their logo, like their slogan is, we're not for everyone, and you shouldn't be either, or something like that, which we just said. And I walked in, and like there's a chair, and the arms of the chair are like flipping you off, and like it was just like all this unexpected stuff. And I was like, I literally just said that our design motif is the unexpected, a little bit weird. I'm an Enneagram 4, so if someone else owns something I have, I'm immediately donating or selling it. It's a toxic and untoxic trait at the same time. And I just can't stop thinking about them. And I loved it. And everyone, if you come to Dallas, they're open 7 days a week. I would encourage you to go to Scout Design Studio. It might not be for you, and that's okay.
Yeah, so look it up online first. Go through your buyer's journey, make the decision if you want to get into the discovery call with this store or not, because it's
I mean,
not for everyone.
was there a chaise longue with a mannequin on it wearing a dog head and an evening gown? Yes.
Oh, I
If
know.
if that's not for you, then maybe it's not for you.
Yeah,
But she wasn't for sale. She's just one of the models.
you might enjoy it. It might still be a good time for you. It's the nice thing about what's not for you is you only know it's not for you because you get in the situation and learn it. And then next time you're like, that's not
Exactly.
for me. Like I don't want to go to my husband used to always want to go to open houses when they
Ah,
were for sale, but they were not houses that like I could already tell you no.
yeah.
I
You're like,
want
"That's
to go
not
to an
it."
open house for specific houses, and he just in general him and my best friend would go to any because they thought it was quote unquote fun. And I'm like,
I
y'all
like
should go together.
going in open houses for a lot like, the homes that I couldn't afford in a million years and
Yeah,
pretending like I
kinda. If I'm in the mood. If I'm not
true.
in the mood to see what I'll never get to have that I
No,
want, and now my standards are so high that I'll never be pleased. Kinda like a bikini contest. I don't wanna do that. My
no,
body's not
that's
gonna
not
look
for
like that
me.
all the time, so I don't wanna see it look that good because then I'll never be happy again.
Well, so this is why you marry a realtor, so you can just go to any of them that you want, and no one questions if you're there for the right reasons or not.
Yeah,
Like me. Oh, well, I'm gonna go to Scout Design Studio. They close in 30 minutes, but I'm gonna figure it out.
there you go.
I'm not. I want to, I'm not.
Um, okay, well, listen, I can't wait to talk to you on our next episode of Glow On. Like, subscribe, go check us out over at Develop Academy. Give us a follow. Let us know if there's something you'd like to hear us talk about. And we're always down to hear your anonymous, wild wedding stories, whether that's as a guest or as a vendor, and we will share them anonymously.
It's true. I wonder if we should make an email address just for this podcast.
That's probably smart. We'll have
Probably
we'll have
should.
our producer Heffington get on it.
So next episode, you be preparing those, and next episode we will drop the email address. It'll probably be in the description too. That's what it's going to be. Just read the description. It's in there now.
Yes, there we go. We did it. We can do hard things.
Okay, glow on, everyone. We'll see you next week.
Glow on with your bad self.
Photographers, want to gain a deeper understanding of your ideal clients? Well, we have just the thing for you. A free quiz that reveals key insights about your client's motivations and buying style in just a few minutes. Whether your ideal client is driven by emotion, value, or practicality, knowing their buyer type can transform your sales approach and help you close more bookings. Ready to take the quiz? Head to develop.academy/quiz to discover your ideal client's buyer type. It's quick, insightful, and completely free. Don't miss out.